Now looking at my performer's execution phase of the jump shot based upon the perfect technical model. Obviously this still has positives and negatives to this shot, and to his technique. So some positives and things he's doing well in his shot is that during the execution phase, he is having full extension at the elbow joint of his dominant shooting arm, which is his right arm here. And then that allows him to have the most potential power from his arm muscles executed in his shot. And that would benefit him, obviously, in a game situation when he's trying to shoot distances and the correct distance to the basket so it goes in. He also has good extension at the knee joint, so this uses the quadriceps and gluteals to add power to the shot as well. So overall, with his arms and extension of his legs at the knee, this overall would add significant power to his shot compared to if he didn't fully extend his arm or didn't fully extend his legs at the knee joint. Also, he's still looking at the basket, which means he can still line up his shot and still knows where the basket is and how he's going to shoot, so how much power he needs to shoot and what angle he needs to shoot at to allow him for it to go in. Compared to if he wasn't looking at the basket, he wouldn't know where the basket was and wouldn't know how to line up his shot. Some things he can improve on, though, however, during the execution phase, is that his supporting hand, so his left hand, that's just supposed to hold the basket to support it and not assist with the actual shot of the basketball, of the jump shot. This actually is slightly following through. So he's using this to add power to the shot, which isn't a great thing, as this could and most likely will alter the angle which the ball would be thrown at and how his shot is performed. So that means his shot is less likely to be straight. That means he'll be more likely to miss compared to the perfect technical model, in which it doesn't use the support arm to help the shot when performing the shot. And this means that the shot will obviously go straight because you know exactly where it's going to go. Also, he's not jumping, so his feet is still on the ground. So for a jump shot, you would obviously jump to assist in more power generated. That means he'll be able to throw and shoot the basketball at greater distance. And this also means that some power is lost through the execution from his legs. As if he jumps, he's then involving more muscles in the legs rather than just his quads and glutes, meaning that his shot would obviously have more power and more likely to go in. Now looking at the recovery phase, my performer here is doing well. The things he's doing well is that his arms follow through after his shot. So that means it, and in the wrist as well, just like here in the technical model. And this adds backspin to the ball, so it's more likely to go in if it hits the backboard or hits the rim of the basket. He's also still looking at the basket, which then allows him to react to the outcome of the shot. So if it, like I was saying earlier, if it rebounds, he knows it's going to rebound and can quickly react to be the first to regain possession rather than the other team taking possession of the ball. And obviously if it goes in, the other team will then take the ball and straight away will try to perform a counter-attack, as basketball is quite a fast-paced sport, as so the other team would want to attack as quickly as possible after conceding a basket. So the performer here would be ready to react to that stimulus, or whatever it is during the game. He'd be ready to react to that because he knows exactly where the ball is and what's going to happen to the ball after his shot. Some things he could work on though during his recovery phase is that his feet aren't shoulder width apart. That means he will react slower to the rebound or counterattack, as this would mean that he moves off slower because it will take him an extra step to start moving and generate power to quickly react to the basketball. And that extra step there could be slow enough because the other team could be ready and would be then a step ahead of him effectively, and that would be enough for the other team to regain possession of the ball rather than my performer here taking possession of the ball again. Also notice that his knees aren't slightly bent, because in the model here their knees are bent first to absorb the impact of the jump shot, but as he didn't jump he didn't need to bend his knees. But he's not bent to anticipate the next move of the basketball and his opposition. So this would also mean that he'd be slower to react to whatever happens to the basketball afterwards in a game situation. And that would negatively affect his performance, as, for example, the opposition would be more likely to go through and score in the counter-attack if he wasn't ready for it. Looking at a technical model overall, however, there are both advantages and disadvantages to using this model. So first, an advantage of it is that it splits the skill into separate phases. So that means you can identify specifically where the performer needs to work on, and how he could improve in his technique, and therefore would then help him improve his performance in a game situation. There's also a wide range of software that can help analyze performance. As we looked at earlier with the Slow Pro and Coach's Eye, there's loads more software that can be used, and that could specifically help improve performers' performance, as they can, like the Coach's Eye, they could line it up side by side with an elite athlete to know exactly how to work and where they need to improve on. This would be extremely useful for beginners, as breaking it down step by step, the beginner would then know how to perform the skills step by step. And also coaches can help run through this with a technical model. It can then show the performer how to do it, and coaches can then use the technical model themselves to then give verbal feedback to the performer or to the beginner on how to improve. But this is also quite good for experienced performers, as an experienced performer, there'd only be potential slight tweaks to their performance they'd need to do. And so being able to split this up into a step-by-step model, they'd be able to know exactly where they are not messing up, but not perfect, don't have the perfect technique, and know exactly where they would need to improve for this, then improve their overall performance. It can also help prevent injury, as if a performer is using bad technique, that could potentially be dangerous to the performer, and then over time that could cause them to become injured quite often, or be more likely to be injured. So if you can alter their technique into a more safe and effective method using the technical model, that would mean that they'd be less likely to get injured, and therefore their performance would improve, as they would be able to play for longer and play throughout the season without having to potentially worry as much about getting injured. Some disadvantages about the technical model, however, is that if you are using the software, for example, you would need good camera angles to shoot specific shots. So if you weren't going to use this live, a coach wasn't going to do this live, you would need to video it in very good camera angles for the coaches to correctly analyze the skill and technique of the performer. As if there's a bad camera angle, they wouldn't be able to do that. Software can also be expensive, so it wouldn't be easily accessible for everyone. So for beginners here, they wouldn't be able to easily access software, as it would cost a lot, but this would be all right for elite athletes, as they would have the finance to cover that if needed. It's also not amazing for more complex skills. It can still be used for complex skills, but it's much harder to do it, as it's much harder to split into a step-by-step technical model, as there's usually multiple things occurring at once and in quick succession. So an example for this would be a vault in gymnastics, for example, as the performer has to be very precise with their run-up and the actual execution of the vault, and obviously have to land properly, otherwise there's a very high risk of injury due to the big impact of that. And finally, the technical model doesn't support unorthodox approaches. So, as I was saying earlier, a performer could be very effective in their own method of doing it, yet this could be very unorthodox and complete opposite to what the technical model would say is how the skill should be performed. But that performer could be exceptional in their technique. And example, shooting basketball, they could be scoring over 90% of their shots. And looking at stats for that would be extremely effective, and would be arguably not needed to alter their technique, as they would be so good at the technique they're doing as it is. But on a coaching side, they would say that their technique is absolutely terrible, but they are still able to perform at a high and effective level.